Welcome to the Public and Protective Services Committee meeting for August 15th. On this committee, myself, Grant Berg, Councillor O'Connor is online, Mayor Clayton also online, and absent is Chair Bressy. Moving on to our service area update. Chief Lemieux.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So starting with some our two capital projects, the Community Care Campus. We've successfully completed a number of inspections. Alberta Health Services did their inspection earlier this month. So did the Supportive Living Act people, with a few deficiencies that we have since corrected. We have still one deficiency left on the fire side that should be corrected today. So our tenants still haven't moved in, but they're scheduled to move in later on this week. Phase 3, which is the municipal side of the building and the independent living on the third floor, that completion has been delayed to October from September. So we're now looking at an October completion due to some supply chain disruptions. With regards to Fletcher House, Fletcher House substantial completion has been delayed till mid-September. Again, with some supply chain issues. Occupancy is slated for October the 1st, and we've put out a request for proposal to identify a service provider to operate that facility for us. That closed on August the 10th, and the award is slated for August 22nd. Update from the Community Social Development on Home Support Program. In first quarter, clients' assessment increased from 19 in 2022 to 39 in 2023, so a significant increase. Likewise, the second quarter assessments increased from 20 that we had in 2022 to 33 in 2023, so we now have an 8-week waiting list. So this program will be evaluated as part of the Seniors Gap Analysis that Council requested at our February strategic planning session. So more to come on that particular one. Food security survey. This survey produced an impressive result with 2,188 residential responses. So we're analyzing that data now with a report to come back to council in Q4. The Communities Building Youth Futures Initiative. The initiative funding has allowed us to hire a youth community development assistant. So Blue Vetch joined the CSD team and will be working towards a goal of a large-scale career and education expo event that will occur in March 2024. From the Housing and Homeless Initiatives side, we're working on the Housing Accelerator funds. So we are working with several departments on an application, and that application is due on August the 18th with an update to Council at our Council Committee of the Whole next week. Grant funding allocation information. So at a recent meeting on June 20th, Wendy Hughes presented a report to you on the grant funding allocations, and you had requested that additional information and historical information be added to the website. So that has been completed. From enforcement services perspective, our officers are actively engaged with investigations on unsightly properties throughout the city. So, and our goal is always to obtain compliance from owners that have these sites cleaned up before we have to issue orders. But in some cases, we have had to issue orders, but we're getting fairly good cooperation there. Management team at Enforcement Services has been conducting interviews to fill several vacant peace officer positions. We've had good response to our advertising there. And in terms of community engagement, the peace officers conducted numerous patrols during the Street Performers Festival and Rib Fest, with no concerns identified relating to those two events. Emergency management, GPREP side. So you may be aware that we have a current GPREP activation where several residents from the Northwest Territories have been asked to evacuate their communities. And we are currently hosting over 750 people in the city of Grande Prairie. So we've been very, very busy with that over the last couple of days. A special thanks to Transit Department, who really helped us with 2 Boeing planes landing late Sunday night, and we're able to transport people to our reception center, which is at the Grande Prairie Alliance Church. So we'd like to thank our friends at the Grande Prairie Alliance Church for their support, and our local hotels for also working with us. Now, due to the upcoming sold-out Bear Creek Folk Festival, some of our rooms will have to be vacated, so we're making plans over the next couple of days to move some of our evacuees from the city of Grande Prairie to the city of St. Albert. So we thank the city of St. Albert for working with us on that particular plan. And I'd like to thank my friend, Mr. Brian Glavin, because he is one of 2 incident commander on this event. So Daryl Martin from the county of Grande Prairie and my friend, Mr. Glavin, are the incident commanders on that event. The RCMP, just a couple things to report there. On July 13th, officers with the Crime Reduction Unit located a male who was wanted on a Canada-wide warrant for violating conditions of his federal parole. So there was pursuit that was conducted and had to be terminated for safety reasons, but the male was identified later on, and there was another bit of a pursuit where the vehicle that he was driving rammed a police truck several times before eventually becoming stuck. So the male was apprehended and will be going to court shortly. Another incident was on July the 18th. The Grande Prairie RCMP received a report that a male and female had allegedly pointed and discharged a pistol, later determined to be a pellet gun. So there was a pursuit there also, and eventually those 2 individuals were also apprehended. Also, another event was a home invasion. So on July 26th, an unknown male and female knocked on the door of a residence in the area of 102nd Avenue and 85th Street. The homeowner opened the door and a male forced his way inside and assaulted the male victim. The suspect stole several items from the victim and then fled the area in a vehicle. Both of those individuals were later apprehended. Just an update from the Community Knowledge Campus. The Aquarians Regional Swim Meet was held on August 11th to the 13th with over 275 swimmers in attendance, a very successful event. And the Peace Country Cowboys adult football team finished the year with a big win on Saturday, July 22nd, and they're headed to playoffs in Calgary. And the Northwest Polytechnic Wolves soccer team are starting their year on August the 12th. And sports development, wellness, and culture. So we have some sponsorship has allowed for after-school drop-in to continue free of charge free of charge for the remainder of 2023. And sport tourism, there's a bid that we have submitted for the U15, U17, and U19 Canadian Wrestling Championships to be hosted at the Design Works Center in May 2025. If this is awarded to the city, this event will bring 600 athletes, coaches, and dignitaries, as well as family members to our community. And that's my report, Mr. Chair. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lemieux. We will go to Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Chair Berg. My question is, you said thank you to the Alliance Church for being the reception center. Are we not using the activity and reception center of our own in any of this?
That facility certainly is available. It depends on the event. So in this case, we're expecting several people to drive down from Hay River, so coming south, and therefore we felt that it would be easier for us to, in terms of access, to have a facility that's close to the north end of the city. That's why we went with the Alliance Church for this particular one. But the Activity and Reception Center is always available to us. Again, because of location, we felt that the Alliance Church was a better selection in this case.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councillor Blackmore, and then Mayor Clayton.
Thank you, Councillor Berg. I just have a quick question, Chief Lemieux, about the home invasion. Were the victims and the perpetrators known to each other, or was it a random event?
Just going to check my note. I think I have a note on that. I'm sorry, I don't have that information. I thought I did, but I don't have that information. I don't believe they were known to each other.
Okay, thank you. It just alerts people a little more.
Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Berg. Chief Lemieux, could you tell me, I'm looking on the outstanding item list and I'm drawing a blank in my memory. When is Council going to further discuss a multi-season turf facility?
I believe that's due for the third quarter, so that should be coming back very shortly. Are we talking
Okay,
about?
thank you.
Are we talking about temporary sports floor?
No, we're talking, well, that's the second part, but the dome facility, we had some discussions in locations, et cetera, and I know we were talking with some municipal partners, et cetera. I don't know when that's coming back to council, and I'm drawing a blank, and I don't see it on the oil, so I was just curious.
So I will, I don't have the answer at the top of my head, but I will follow up, and I'll make sure that there's an email to council.
If you can just email council, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Will do.
All right, and then I'm going to jump in the queue. So Chief Lemieux, thank you to your team again for the quick response. And this is the second event that we've hosted evacuees. I think it was over the weekend that I heard that the fires in Enterprise and Hay River were calling for evacuations. And then when I heard that they were being evacuated to Grande Prairie, I was thinking of you. So again, thanks for your overnight work that I know that you've been doing in long hours, including the weekend. So thank you to your team once again for responding and helping citizens, not just around Grande Prairie, but our neighbors to the north. So thank you.
And if I may add, Mr. Chair, so this is the second time this community has been evacuated this year. Very difficult time for them. And some of the feedback that we received on how we're receiving people and hosting people has been very, very positive. They said to us, we've never been treated like you're treating us in Grande Prairie, which is, again, we're a victim of our own successes. People want to come to Grande Prairie when they get evacuated. And so thanks to the team, and I appreciate your comments.
Of course, thank you. Any other comments or questions looking online? I see Mayor Clayton shaking her head. All right, so then we will move on to 3.2 charitable drop-offs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is an outstanding item from our list that we've been working on, and I'm going to ask Tammy Wenzel, our Acting Director of Community Social Development, who's prepared the report, to present the report to you.
Ms. Wenzel.
Thank you. Good morning. In response to the motion passed at the Council meeting on October 17, 2022, and the Public Protective Services Committee meeting on February 14, 2023, Administration has prepared a report on potential locations, guidelines, and benefits and challenges regarding charitable drop-off points in city facilities. On October 17, Administration presented an initial report outlining the current state of charitable drop-off at 11 city facilities, noting the absence of a formal process or plan. The few requests for such services have been handled on an ad hoc basis. After the committee's request for more information, Administration conducted a comparative analysis of 6 Alberta communities similar in size to Grande Prairie, including Airdrie, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, Spruce Grove, St. Albert, and Wood Buffalo. None of them currently offer charitable drop-off programs. Instead, they prefer to work with local not-for-profit organizations as needed and issue permits for donation bins, but avoid taking responsibility for bin management. Municipalities that choose to directly engage in charitable initiatives should be approached with consideration. Administration completed an analysis suggesting that such involvement from the municipal government might overlap the efforts of local nonprofits, possibly leading to perception of redundant initiatives and hesitancy from nonprofit sectors. Being a charitable drop-off location has both upsides, such as boosting community engagement and enhancing our city's image, and downsides like logistical challenges, sorting and disposal complexities, increasing liabilities, and cleanliness maintenance. Hence, maintaining strong relationships with not-for-profit organizations is essential in any successful partnership. We did perform an initial assessment to identify suitable bin locations and establish guidelines. The findings suggest collaboration with not-for-profit campaigns, utilizing indoor bins at places like Eastlink Center and Activity and Reception Center, and using Access GP for request management and scheduling. It is proposed that administration serve as an information hub, connecting residents to charitable organizations and providing information on donation collection. This continued service will be provided through Access GP, thus streamlining the process and enhancing communication efficiencies. While providing charitable drop-off bins aligns with Council's vision of creating an inclusive, caring community, we must balance this initiative with potential challenges such as misuse and illegal dumping, as well as the associated costs of bin procurement, installation, and ongoing maintenance. It is important to be aware of these factors when considering the best way to support charitable endeavors in our community. I welcome any questions or comment, and I recommend that the committee receive this report for information. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wenzel. Looking around the room, I don't see any questions online, nothing. Our charitable organizations do an excellent job here in Grande Prairie already, so compliments to them. And if I may, I believe the Friendship Center was looking for donations for the evacuees of Hay River. Is that correct, Chief Lemieux?
Yes, they are, and they're very specific in terms of what we don't want to just collect anything. So the Grande Prairie Friendship Center, I think, has identified some basic needs. Yeah.
You can find that list online, so thank you. All right, thanks, Ms. Wetzel.
Thank you.
Item 3.3, Chief Lemieux. Oh, do we need a motion to accept that? Okay, looking online to one of our committee members. Mayor Clayton?
I'm happy to make that motion, Chair Berg.
Okay. I call the question.
I would move that the committee receive this report for information. Thanks.
Councillor O'Connor, I saw your picture a second ago.
Yes, in favor.
And that passes unanimously. Moving on to 3.3, Grande Prairie Curling Club. Chief Lemieux.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this report is to do with the discussion that we've had ongoing with regards to what would it take to make the Grande Prairie Curling Center possibility of making it a year-round facility. So I'm going to ask Stephanie Cajolet, our Recreation and Culture Executive Director, to present the report, please.
Ms. Cajolet.
Thank you, Chair Berg. Following 2022 budget deliberations and allocation of funding resources, professional services were engaged to assess the viability of upgrades to the Grande Prairie Curling Center for expanded use outside of the curling season. The site inspection found the building components are in excellent condition and operating as designed. The building will not require additional space to accommodate potential increases in occupancy or usage as a multi-purpose space. Additionally, the structural integrity of the curling rink and the multi-purpose space are capable of withstanding the same amount of weight and pressure, therefore no modifications to the structure are required. The administrative report identifies regulatory issues such as life safety systems and accessibility requirements that must be considered in order to extend the operations of the Grande Prairie Curling Center beyond its current use. I do note one oversight on page 3 of the report related to bathroom amenities. If additional toilets were not added to the women's washroom, the reduced occupancy load would be 800 people versus the 500 referenced in the report by error. The feasibility study identifies the infrastructure investment required to create a multi-purpose space that could be used for a wider variety of recreation and programs outside of the curling season. Continued engagement with the Grande Prairie Curling Center will be required to pursue expanded use. This concludes my presentation, and I am happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Ms. Cajolet. Councillor Plott.
Thanks, Chair Berg. Just in the report, I guess I was hoping for a little bit more information. It doesn't really talk about how used the facility is currently. Like, I'm just wondering, I think there's 8 sheets of ice in there currently. Are we using 8 sheets? Are we using 4 sheets? Like, I'm just not sure how well we're utilizing this current facility.
Thank you, through the chair. Currently, there are 8 sheets of ice in the facility, and those are used during the curling season. We have been working actively with the Grande Prairie Curling Club to kind of assess their current membership, and like kind of programming needs into the future. So working with them to get that information, and probably could have a better idea of potential opportunities after this next season.
Okay, so for somebody that maybe has an appetite to see this building get repurposed, having said that, I don't know, until we know how much it's being utilized, I don't know how we could even talk about repurposing it. So I'm just wondering when that'll come forward, just so we could 4 sheets be closed down and made into a basketball court, or 4 pickleball courts, or 4 volleyball courts or something. And as much as I'd like to see us work towards that, I can't say that without knowing how much the curling rink needs the space. So I guess I was a little surprised it wasn't in the report, but I'm just wondering when that would come, or if there's going to be another touchback with that information to even make a decision whether it makes sense to repurpose this building in some form.
Through the chair, the professional services were engaged to look at utilizing the arena area in the off season. So simply not when the curling center is in use, would be in the summer season. If there was a desire to look at being able to split the arena space and to offer the ice surface at the same time as other recreation opportunities, that would definitely require some additional investigation. Certainly the curling center has a strong membership base and offers lots of activities related to curling league and a junior program. So they certainly do utilize the current 8 sheets in the winter season. If there is desire for additional information, we can certainly bring that back in the fall.
Okay, and just one other. I've got a couple if I can, but
one more.
One other one. I'm just curious from administration. It's talking about accessibility with getting into there, and we've had a budget set aside for years around the facilities getting upgraded for accessibility needs. So I'm just wondering why that wouldn't just be ongoing. Like why we would identify that we have issues with accessibility getting out to use the facility, but it's not. I guess maybe my bad on assuming. Through our facilities management, we're constantly talking about getting all of our building up to speed with when it comes to accessibility. Why it's even on the report, not just kind of actually happening already.
Okay. Thank you, through the chair. So the accessibility really pertains to the rink area. So once you leave the lobby space of the curling center and go into the rink area, there's a platform there, and then there's walking platforms between each sheet of ice. Those are semi-permanent, so the accessibility part would arise when those walkways would be removed. There would be a gap between the platform and the drop down to the concrete surface when the ice is removed. So accessibility in terms of creating ramps on either end of that arena so that it could be accessible for.
Okay, so when it's current use for curling, there's no accessibility issues at all?
No, that is correct. And the rest of the building meets the requirements for code for accessibility.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Berg. Ms. Casually, I just want to make sure I'm interpreting this correctly. The analysis that was done talked about, I'm just looking for the specific wording, talked about enhanced use of the facility. And to Councillor Plott's comments, when the Curling Association was here last year, they did indicate their utilization was strong in the winter, various different programs. Council's direction was, in particular, in the off-season. When I'm reading through some of these items, the life safety system, for example, it talks about the minimum safety requirements for current use have been met, but to expand the operation. So my question is, if we did curling year-round, would we be expected to expand the life safety systems? Because it's meeting minimum safety requirements currently. So if we were doing curling year-round, then I would assume it's meeting the system's requirements. Why? Because we're looking at different use, would the safety requirements change?
Thank you, through the chair. Because the renovations would be considered to be substantial renovations, it would also trigger a requirement to meet the current code. It would trigger the change in use of the building would require us to meet the current code conditions, and that would include some of those life safety elements.
And sorry, but council hasn't approved any specific programming or change in use. If it goes recreation to recreation and the renovations aren't significant, as to Councillor Plott's comments, if it became an indoor place to shoot hoops in the summer, how does that constitute a significant renovation?
Through the chair, so some of the accessibility pieces would need to be addressed. So some of the other items, just give me 1 second.
So yeah, I agree accessibility, but I'm talking HVAC, sprinkler, toilets. I don't really, barrier-free design and accessibility. Those two make sense to me. if we were going to utilize the recreation facility year round. But really, I don't see this as a change of use. So I'm just curious why the sprinkler systems and safety systems would really be triggered at all.
Thank you. Through the chair. In discussion with a consultant as well as corporate facility management, it is estimated by those professional services that there would be a change of use to the facility in its current operation, and that would necessitate those changes.
Okay, so a question for Mr. Miller. Sorry, Councillor Berg. I'd like to have more information on that. I feel that if we're going to put in a temporary sport court over top of the concrete, one's a winter recreation facility and one's a summer recreation facility, I don't understand that change of use. And I think that's information for council. And how do you suggest, Mr. Miller, that council gets that information?
Mr. Miller?
Thanks, Chair Berg. So I think we can certainly take that away and we'll bring it back in the near future as to what we can do to accommodate that.
Thank you.
All right, Councillor Blackmore.
Just as a follow-up to Mayor Clayton's questions, my understanding is that the items listed will depend on the use that we eventually settle on, whether it's a temporary structure or at this point in time, because we don't have any idea of what unless I'm wrong, we don't have any idea yet of what sporting facility or what use we would put the building to. Much of this report is speculation to keep in mind for a future decision process. Am I reading that right?
Casually, I'm just going to defer to Chief Lemieux.
If I could just make a comment. So I just want to point out that the purpose of this study was to look at what would we need to do if we're going to use the facility during the summertime, during the off-curling season. We have, Stephanie's done a good job, the Grande Prairie Curling Center has done a good job speaking to other organizations to see, is there somebody that wants to come and use this facility? Right now, we have no takers. So that's why this report's saying, receive it for information, because you're absolutely correct. If we are going to make some changes, it depends on what the use is going to be. But there's no sense building it hoping they will come. We need to wait to see who could we attract to use that facility. Right now, we have no takers. That's why we're saying it's good information to have, but we're not recommending we make any changes at this time until we have a user group that comes to the door and says, we have a good use for that facility in the off season.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Did you want to add anything, Ms. Casually?
Thank you. Through the chair. When the scope of work was developed for the RFP and for the project, the building needs were based on potential increase in occupancy, and suggested usage for the space included social entertainment, family events, trade shows, as well as recreation programming.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Chair Berg. We're looking at $750,000 roughly. My significant concern is this excludes road work and civil engineering costs. It excludes associated with excavating into concrete slab and additional plumbing. We all are all fully aware that renovations go sideways sometimes, and significant costs come as a surprise. I don't like these surprises. This could be significant. We're up near $1 million, and we don't have any ROI on that $1 million. So I think it's a bit vague, not on your part, but and the work that you've done. But I think if we could get some answers, like Mr. Lemieux said, potential revenue, even quality of life features that we care about here. But these items of exclusion are a concern, and if we can get a cost on that, that might make a significant difference on whether you go ahead or not.
All right, thank you. I'm just going to jump in. So, Ms. Casually, one of the items that I read was around the washrooms, and I believe in the report it said 500. We would have to expand if it was 500 or 800, I think, as you updated it. Could we just not, I just can't see 800 people in there that would require additional washrooms. Am I correct in reading that, or?
Through the chair, so it is a requirement in order to comply with the National Building Code that we would have to increase the 2 washrooms. If we chose not to do that, then the alternative would be to reduce the occupancy of the facility.
And what would that cap be?
800.
Yeah, okay. And I don't think we would meet that anyway, so I just can't see 800 people in there. I could be wrong. Councillor Palat.
Thanks, Chairberg. I was just going to make the same comment. It would be if we're getting a report back from the curling center at overall feasibility of the rinks. It'd be actually nice to know how many people are in the building. I mean, we've rented that upstairs function. It's got a seating capacity for the restaurant. There's only 8 sheets of ice with 8 or 10 people on each. So I don't know how we'd ever get up to past 400 or 500 people on it. Anyways, I'm just wondering for administration if we're going to get a subsequent report back. Are you looking for us to identify specific usages of this building? Like I thought when we were talking about this, it was looking at pickleball, basketball, basically a cement pad like we have at an activity reception center. So maybe I'm overthinking this, but I keep coming back to if you pull out the slabs and you have a cement floor, why we need a sprinkler and why we need to upgrade HVAC. But I would like to, excuse me, have more information on that. But I guess if admin's looking for that, I think our intents, or I know when we were talking about this, one of my intents was a potential another court sport facility of some kind, whether it's pickleball, basketball, volleyball, indoor skate park, that sort of stuff. So if that helps when you're talking about those code alignments of why we would need sprinklers and upgraded HVAC when it's going to be used in the summertime, that would be really helpful when we get this report back.
Ms. Casualite?
Through the chair. I mean, similar to our current or newest build of the Recreation Activity and Reception Center, that the recreation facility or activity space in that facility is sprinklered throughout to meet the new building codes. The concern in terms of upgrading the HVAC and things would be we would be in a situation similar to the leisure center, which does not have air conditioning. It's a former rink, and that space had very limited use during the summer because it was just severely too warm for any type of recreational use. The only time typically that facility would be utilized in the summer months would be when scheduled teams and events were planned to be outdoors and then they got rained out. So we would be able to offer them that space, for maybe part of the day for use, but it was really too warm without improved HVAC to be able to utilize it for recreation purposes.
Okay, just
one more.
Sorry, just curious if when it comes back, if there'll be a feasibility side of it the other way, if we did repurpose this to where it was used for pickleball, basketball, there will be income coming from that as well to offset the facility's costs. I'm just wondering if there'll be a real high level on potential. If we did utilize it this many hours, there would be an income coming back, because there will be income coming back if we end up renting this facility out in the summertime to user groups as well. So I just would want to reflect that in there as well.
Mr. Lemieux?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So certainly administration and the Grande Prairie Curling Center will continue to liaise with other organizations that potentially could use that facility. We've had many of those discussions. And again, nobody has expressed a keen interest in using that facility. It doesn't mean that there aren't uses for it. We will continue to search out potential users for that particular facility. And certainly as soon as we hear of potential uses, we'd have to come back to council because some renovations would have to occur. So at this time, again, we're saying there's really nobody knocking at the door, but if you're aware of certain organizations, we'd love to speak with them.
Before I go to you, Councillor Palat, I'm going to go to Mayor Clayton. She's been very patient.
Thank you for recognizing how patient I've been. Thanks, Councillor Berg. Ms. Casualty, can you remind me from the Recreation Master Plan study that evaluated needs within the region, what are the top 3 needs in the city currently for recreation?
For indoor use, just give me one moment and I'll double check it just to make sure that I'm giving you the correct information.
With that, that information can come after that's already, but Councillor Berg, Chair Berg, I was prepared to make a motion to receive this for information. I do have a subsequent motion following Ms. Casualty's answer.
Okay, I'll go to Councillor Palat and then back to you.
Mine was just a comment that I'm curious if this is a facility that if we did do that, could it run through the scores agreement? I think if it was easily available for the public, it would probably get used. Maybe not a specific user group stepping up for it, but I'm just wondering if that's something we could, if we were looking at doing that, if it's something we could add to the scores agreement, if we end up having space in there.
Okay. Mayor Clayton? Did somebody make the motion? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was muted. I just move the committee receive this report for information.
Okay. All right. And with that, I'll call the vote.
O'Connor in favor.
All right. And that passes unanimously. And one more, Mayor Clayton?
I was waiting if Ms. Casually had an opportunity to find that information.
Okay, I see her looking.
If not, that's fine. I can handle this at another time.
Through the mayor, I just want to be sure that I'm giving you the correct information. So if I could continue to look for it and hopefully be able to provide you with an answer before the end of the meeting.
Yeah, I just want to know what the top 3 needs in indoor recreation space currently, based on what we have and utilization rates. Do we need more this, A, B, and C? What is it that we need more of in indoor recreation space?
Perfect.
Is it courts? Is it pickleball? Is it volleyball? Is it basketball? What are the indoor recreation needs currently underutilized in our community?
All right, so we'll just
move on. If the answer is court sports, then that's fine.
All right, Ms. Casually, is it all right if we just move on?
Yes, please.
Okay, thanks. Moving on, no correspondence, other business, bylaw policy review. So over to outstanding items, and Chief Lemieux.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the list is updated, and today we dealt with item number 1200 and number 1256. So I would recommend that we amend the outstanding items list by removing those 2 items.
All right, if I could get somebody online. I see Mayor Clayton has her hand up.
I apologize. I'll take that down.
Okay, over to Councillor O'Connor.
Yeah, I'm just curious before we make the motion. Item 1200 is technically not dealt with as it's coming forward. Am I not correct?
Chief Lemieux?
The intent of the report today was to deal with number 1200, but there may be a subsequent motion if council wishes or if committee wishes more follow-up.
Okay, just...
Councillor O'Connor, it was received for information, so it's completed as is, but I think that there will be some subsequent work following, but it's just hasn't been identified yet.
Yeah, we just had a subsequent motion to replace.
Okay. Thank you. Then I'll move that we accept the Public and Protective Services Committee outstanding items list as amended.
Okay, and I'll call that question.
In favor.
And that passes unanimously. And before we adjourn, Ms. Casually, have you found what you need?
Thank you, through the chair. Unfortunately, I have not, but I can certainly ensure that it gets emailed to council.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And with that, I will adjourn the Public and Protective Services Committee meeting. One more communications.